rude, please.
I only have 5 minutes.
No, yeah, and I only have 30 seconds based on your filibustering.
But you didn't give a yes or no answer,
California.
so let me just go further. Director Patel testified in this committee room that there was.
This hearing took a stunning turn when Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren pressed Pam Bondi with direct questions about the Jeffrey Epstein files and demanded simple yes or no answers. Instead of giving clear responses, Bondi fired back personally, prompting a heated confrontation that forced the chairman to restore order. By the end, lawmakers weren't just arguing over the Epstein investigation, they were arguing over the hearing itself.
Nadler's question has not yet been answered, but I want to start by asking that out of respect for the American public and the Epstein survivors, some of whom, of course, are here today, that we can have a transparent conversation and get the public the answers they deserve. I want to briefly direct your attention to 2 documents I'm hoping we will put up on the screen. In the first, an individual emails Jeffrey Epstein asking whether a woman identified as M was pro or civilian, and Epstein responds that she was a civilian, Russian, and fun. In the second email, Epstein writes to Steve Tisch about a Ukrainian girl, noting that she was, quote, a little freaked out by the age difference and stating that he would try to convince her not to return to Ukraine. He then instructs Mr. Tisch to call him, adding, I don't like records of these conversations. So I'd like to ask a straightforward question that really is either a yes or no answer. Do these emails constitute credible evidence, not proof, but credible evidence warning further investigation into whether Steve Tisch was involved in Epstein's criminal conduct? Do you think yes or no?
I'm not going to play a yes-no game with you, but I will answer the question to the best of my ability. As I said, we will look and investigate any case involving any victim. I'm not familiar, there were 3 million pages, of course, with that email, but of course, we will look into anything. The documents have been released, 3 million, the redacted versions, we left them open for all of you to come view. Have you? I believe you view them. If not, will you have some copies?
I'd like to.
But could I finish, please? I'm not being rude, please.
I only have 5 minutes.
No, yeah, and I only have 30 seconds based on your filibustering.
Well, you didn't give a yes or no answer,
California.
so let me just go further. Director Patel testified in this committee room that there was no credible information indicating that Epstein trafficked victims to anyone else. And glancing at the documents, that proves that's not the case. In July, your department issued a memo stating that it had conducted an exhaustive review of the Epstein files and concluded that no additional individuals would be charged. So I did go over to the Department of Justice yesterday. I would note that 400 and all our 35 members are in the House, and there's 4 computers. So it would take many months to actually have the time. I only had a few hours. I think the transparency argument is really kind of a sham because it's not really possible.
Whoa. Did you have to wait to get a computer?
It is not possible to really go in. I did, however, see a U.S. attorney information for the Southern District of New York indicating that there were additional survivors and probable co-conspirators. Other members of Congress have uncovered likely co-conspirators whose names were blocked out. Now, the Epstein File Transparency Act, which all but one member of this House voted for and the president signed, requires the department to release everything except that it needs to be redacted to protect the victims or an ongoing prosecution, which apparently there is none from the testimony we have received. I am concerned that this act has not been fully complied with. When Director Patel came to the committee, he admitted that up to 1,000 FBI agents had gone through the files and redacted President Trump's name from them. And it's pretty clear that what has been transmitted from the FBI continues to redact President Trump's name, even though he is mentioned thousands of times in these files. So I think the credibility of the department in terms of complying with the act has been damaged. And I think the department's credibility has been damaged in other ways. I think we all saw the horrible video of American citizens being killed by ICE agents in Minneapolis. And I think how the department has handled these cases raises a lot of doubt about the department. State and local police in Minnesota got a court order to get access to the crime scene to be sure evidence would be properly preserved by federal agents. But they took the agents defied the court order, and in a departure from general policy, the DOJ is not collaborating with state and local law enforcement on these homicides. So I really think that is a disgraceful approach to the homicides of American citizens, and really does nothing to bring credit to your department. And Mr. Chairman, I would yield back.
Gentlelady yields back.
May I answer?
Attorney General can respond.
I find it interesting that she keeps going after President Trump, the greatest president in American history. And if they could maintain their composure, this isn't a circus, this is a hearing. I find it interesting she keeps going after Donald Trump. She doesn't say how much money she took from Reid Hoffman, did you? None. And nor did
Mr.
she
Chairman,
post
regular
anything.
order, please.
She
Regular
posted
order.
nothing on her X account, on her Twitter account, during the Biden years.
Gentlelady.
And yet now,
there
all
was
of
no
a sudden,
question
she's
asked.
going after
Committee will be in
point
order.
There was no question
be in
asked of
order.
the Attorney General. She doesn't just get to speak.
Committee will be in order.
I have a point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Committee will be in order.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Gentlelady can state her point of order.
When a witness attacks,
Not a valid point of order. You got to state.
She hasn't completed her point of order yet.
Gotta
Please let her
cite.
speak, Mr. Chairman. Let's have some regular order here.
Regular order is you got to state the rule. And she's
I am
gonna do it.
trying to make a point of order that the witness,
And what rule are you referring to?
without responding to a question, has attacked me personally. I think it's pathetic that she can't answer the questions and
First
instead
time
is
that
attacking
is not even close
members
to a
of the
point of
committee.
order. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
The House Judiciary Committee witnessed one of its most combative exchanges when Representative Zoe Lofgren confronted Attorney General Pam Bondi over the Justice Department's handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. What began as a discussion about transparency and accountability quickly turned into a tense political showdown that overshadowed the substance of the hearing. Lofgren opened by emphasizing that the American public, and, most importantly, Epstein's survivors, deserve complete transparency. She pointed to emails contained within the Epstein files that she argued could raise legitimate questions about whether additional individuals should have faced further investigation. Rather than accusing anyone of criminal conduct outright, Lofgren carefully framed her questions around whether the available evidence justified additional investigative scrutiny. Her central argument was straightforward. If documents raise credible concerns, the Department of Justice should thoroughly investigate them instead of closing the door on further inquiry. She also challenged previous testimony from FBI Director Kash Patel, who had reportedly stated that investigators found no credible evidence that Epstein trafficked victims to other individuals. Lofgren argued that documents she reviewed appeared inconsistent with that conclusion and questioned whether the department had fully complied with the law requiring transparency while protecting victims' identities. Lofgren went further, criticizing how lawmakers were being allowed to review the documents. She argued that limiting access to only a handful of computers made meaningful congressional oversight nearly impossible. In her view, transparency is ineffective if lawmakers cannot reasonably examine the evidence. Her criticism then expanded beyond the Epstein files. She questioned the Justice Department's handling of a separate incident involving a fatal ICE shooting, arguing that federal authorities had failed to cooperate adequately with state investigators. For Lofgren, these issues reflected a broader concern about public trust in the Department of Justice. When Pam Bondi responded, she defended the department's work, insisting that investigators would pursue any credible evidence involving victims. She rejected being forced into simple yes or no answers and maintained that the department had released millions of pages of records while following legal requirements. But instead of continuing to address the substance of Lofgren's concerns, Bondi shifted the focus toward politics. She criticized Lofgren for repeatedly mentioning President Donald Trump and accused her of ignoring Democratic donors. That pivot immediately escalated tensions inside the hearing room. Democrats objected that Bondi was attacking a member personally rather than responding to the questions before the committee. Multiple lawmakers interrupted, points of order were raised, and members argued over whether the Attorney General's remarks violated normal committee procedure. The committee chairman attempted to restore order, reminding members that the hearing was not a circus. Ironically, that statement became one of the defining moments of the exchange as lawmakers continued talking over one another. The confrontation highlighted two fundamentally different perspectives. Supporters of Bondi argue that she was defending the department against politically motivated attacks and resisting efforts to reduce complex investigations into simplistic sound bites. From that viewpoint, prosecutors should evaluate evidence carefully rather than making public judgments during congressional hearings. Critics, however, argue that the hearing demonstrated a troubling reluctance to answer legitimate oversight questions. They contend that Congress has a constitutional responsibility to examine how the Justice Department handles politically sensitive investigations and that public confidence depends on direct, transparent answers, not personal counterattacks. Regardless of political affiliation, hearings like this illustrate why congressional oversight remains one of the most contentious aspects of American democracy. Lawmakers seek answers from executive branch officials, while those officials often balance legal constraints, ongoing investigations, and political pressures. In the end, many viewers will likely remember this hearing less for the technical discussion surrounding the Epstein files and more for the dramatic collapse in decorum that followed. What began as questions about transparency became a broader debate over accountability, credibility, and whether government officials are willing to answer difficult questions directly before the American people.